What if I told you the police can come onto your porch without a warrant and it's mostly legal? But here's what they don't want you to know. Hi, I'm attorney Marc Lopez, former prosecutor turned defender of the people. And we are going to talk about what the police can and cannot do on your porch. The key to all of this is understanding the Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution. The Fourth Amendment protects everyone, you, me, everyone here in the United States, against unreasonable search and seizure. In fact, the rule is if there's going to be a search by the police, there has to be a signed warrant by a judge, unless there's exceptions. But that's the framework we want to look at, and this video is all about what the police can and cannot do when they're on someone's porch banging on that door. So let's jump on in. It's important to understand that a house's porch, patio, whatever you want to call it, is considered curtilage. And curtilage is basically the area that surrounds a home. Now, it's not everything. If you live in a giant farm, that's not curtilage. But for the purposes of the Fourth Amendment, curtilage, the area surrounding a home, is considered to be part of the home. And it's afforded all sorts of safeguards against police just coming in there and doing what they want. Now, there's all sorts of factors to figure out what curtilage is. You know, the proximity to the home itself. Is the area enclosed, perhaps the fence? What's the nature of the use of the curtilage or property? And what steps have been taken by the owners to shield casual viewers from that area? So that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is your porch is curtilage. I mean, I'm thinking like you, right outside your home, you got a chair, you got a little entryway, maybe a little awning, but the area outside your home, what many people consider the porch, that's curtilage. There's no way around that. That is your curtilage. And the case that establishes that is Florida v. Jardines. And it's also important to understand this open fields concept. Open fields is not curtilage. And so maybe you have a farm with 100 acres around your farmhouse. Guess what? That 100 acres, not all of that is curtilage. If you own an undeveloped lot in a rural or suburban area and it's covered with grass, maybe some weeds, that's not curtilage. So there's all sorts of little nuances, but your porch or your patio is curtilage. And curtilage, just like the home itself, they're going to need a warrant to search it, or there's going to have to be an exception for the warrant requirement for the police to search it. Now, the next concept we're going to talk about regarding what the police can do on your porch is a knock and talk. A knock and talk is a police investigatory technique where officers go to a residence, knock on the door, or they can ring the bell, and attempt to speak with the occupant. The goal is often to gather information, perhaps investigate a possible crime or complaint, or frequently, what we see the most, is to obtain voluntary consent from the owner or occupant so the police can search the premises without obtaining a warrant. So when the police come onto your porch, they have an implied license, just like anybody, just like a Girl Scout selling you cookies, just like a door-to-door salesman, just like the guy coming to try to sell pest control, which, man, they knock on my door all hours trying to sell me pest control. But there's an implied license for people to come to the front door and knock on it. And that's ordinary, and that's normal, and that's expected. And police can also use that normal and expected implied license that people can come to your front door and knock on your door or ring that doorbell. Now, this limited and implied license for the police to come and knock on your door, ring your doorbell, is limited by social norms, what any other non-police officer visitor could reasonably do. So, with that framework, what can the police do? Well, they can approach your house, your front door, on the normal path. They can't be coming from the side, they can't be cutting across neighbor's yard, can't be climbing over your fence to come knock on your back door, but they can take the usual path. So if you have a driveway and a little sidewalk leading up to your front door, the police can go on your driveway, walk a little path, go to your front door. The police can knock on your door. They can ring that doorbell, hit that little ring doorbell, say hi to the camera. Now, what they can also do is wait a reasonable amount of time. Now, what's a reasonable amount of time? If you have a huge house, maybe that's 5 minutes they can wait out there. If you have a small ranch, maybe they only have to wait 2 minutes, but they can wait a reasonable amount of time. They can't be parked out there and camped out there. They can ask to speak with you. If you open the door or shout through the door, hey, what's going on? Open that door, what's going on? They can ask to talk to you. Hey, we would like to come and search your house. Hey, Anything in here we should know about? Hey, we got a lot of complaints. What's going on? But they can ask investigatory type questions if you speak to them, open that door, and they're allowed to do that. Now, they're also allowed to observe anything in plain view. People, it blows my mind, practicing criminal defense attorney for nearly 20 years. People open the door to police and they have just like contraband lying about, drugs on table, bongs, smell of marijuana hits the officer, but they're allowed to see things in plain view. And that also includes smelling and anything with the eye shot. They can also, on their way on the usual path, they can observe anything on the way to there as well. So if they see something illegal in a car that's parked in the driveway along the path, that's going to be problematic too. So they can observe things in plain view on the way to the front door. And then if that front door is open, they can, anything they see, well, that's also okay and game for them. Now, what can the police not do? Now, this is what I love. What they can't do? Well, they can't bring a drug sniffing dog to the front door for a knock and talk, because that's clearly not what a normal person would be able to do without some sort of warrant or consent. They cannot repeatedly knock on your door and bang on your door, ring your doorbell. So they can't just sit out there 15 minutes, bang, 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 bang. We know you're in there, bang, 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 bang. I mean, if they have a warrant, yeah, they can do that. Probably not break the door down, honestly. But they can't be just being obnoxious, ringing that doorbell. And there's a Merrill v. French case, there's an Indiana case that says that too. But they can't be a nuisance because you clearly would not let a Girl Scout be banging on your door. Hey, I'm here to sell you cookies. I'm not leaving until you buy these Thin Mints. That's not going to happen. They can't engage in coercive tactics. That's open, and that's, is your house surrounded, but they're knocking? Are the officers having their hands on their firearm? Are they saying, hey, if you don't cooperate, things are going to get real hard for you? Are they shouting that through the door? They cannot come at unreasonable hours. So knock and talk can't be done at 3 in the morning. Bang, bang, bang. Unless they see lights on or they just see a car pull in and get in there, then they know you're up. So that might be reasonable, but it can't be unreasonable hours. That's kind of case specific, fact specific. But again, if there's no indication that lights are on, they can't be coming at 3 in the morning for a knock and talk. The police cannot deviate from the normal path. So, if the normal path is driveway and then there is the front door, but there's windows over here, they can't be walking into your grass, be peeking into that window. Now, if they can see into that window on the normal path, that's going to be problematic if there's contraband. But they can't be deviating from the normal path. They can't be cutting across from the neighbor's yard and then happen to see into a window. Or I don't know, but they can't be off the normal path. Because again, they can do what a normal visitor would do. Whatever that Girl Scout could do, police could do. And I would argue police have a higher duty than a Girl Scout, because Girl Scouts are little kids. They don't usually have the best judgment. But that's what I like. It's a Girl Scout standard. What they also can't do is they can't be manipulating or covering your Ring doorbell camera. That's clearly not what you would let a normal person do. It's clearly not going to be cool if a Girl Scout is covering that camera. They can't be covering the camera, can't be disabling it for a knock and talk. That's not going to fly. So I kind of like, in this law practice, we kind of say is the Girl Scout standard. What could a Girl Scout do? And if a Girl Scout couldn't do it, the police shouldn't be doing it either. Now, I do want to talk about Indiana. Indiana has a really cool case, Cupello, and Indiana also says, hey, listen, officers cannot stick their foot in the door for a knock and talk. And then Indiana also has a case, JK, where they talk about the, basically being a menace, pounding on the door, going crazy. So I think those Indiana rights apply nationally. I think they should at least. But the foot in the door and the unreasonable hours, that's even doubled down in the great state of Indiana. So what are your rights when the police are on your porch? Well, you have the right to not open the door if they don't have a warrant. You have the right to refuse to speak to police. I plead the fifth. Only a guilty person would plead the fifth. Now I'm just exercising my God-given rights under the United States Constitution. During a knock and talk, you have the right to say, hey, I revoke your license to come to my door. Please leave. So that implied license for anyone to come, if you tell someone to leave, that license is gone, they have to leave. Generally, during a knock and talk investigation, it's going to be in your best interest to not open your door and do not talk to the police if you don't want to engage with them. You don't have to engage with the police. And there's nothing wrong with asking the police, hey, please leave my front porch. So the big takeaways: know your rights. Police are allowed to walk up to your porch and knock on your front door, asking questions, whatever they want, because it's the normal things that normal people, non-police officers, will be able to do. But you don't have to speak with them. You can tell them, hey, you don't have to say anything, but you could also say, please get off my front porch. I revoke your license to be here. They're going to freak them out a little bit. I don't have a license. I'm not driving here, but it's an implied license. They know what you're talking about. Just ask them to leave. If you feel the police officers have been violating your rights, call an attorney. Knock and talks are one of the more controversial things happening in the United States of America. And the reality is they are legal and they're endorsed by the United States Supreme Court and Indiana Supreme Court as well. But you don't have to play along with that game. You can say, please leave. And you don't have to open that door if you don't want to. Now, if they have a warrant, it's a whole different issue. But if you've watched this far, please like and subscribe to this video. If you have questions about search and seizure, particularly in Indiana, I can't help you if you're in Pennsylvania or Washington or California or all these states people call me from. But if you're in Indiana and you have questions about search and seizure, give me a call. 317-632-3642. I will talk about search and seizure all day. But most importantly, remember to always plead the fifth.